Okay, hello and welcome to the testing creative strategy video. So I'm gonna start off by saying that usually my things are a little bit more advanced. So I'm gonna skip over the basics like I usually do, and I'm gonna jump into the mid-level and high-level advanced stuff that I share or like to share with my videos. So I make sure that before you go and jump and do these things, you go over the basic stuff because you want to make sure that everything is, you have all of the information before you're making any adjustments or like, creating new campaigns that might change whatever. Um, so there is a bunch of different ways to test creatives, and I try and use and do everything because first of all I want to see if something changed within Meta and Facebook, and second because I found that ecom is very different than lead gen, and different geos react differently and times of years change everything. If you're testing stuff on Q1, it's not going to work the same on Q4. And also then the type of creative really changes everything as well. Images and videos react differently, and it's a whole different kind of like algorithm and ecosystem that I've created a different video about. So I have a few ways that I usually, that's like my go-to. The default way when I have lots of creatives would be ABOs. So I create one ABO that's named testing campaign, and then I go and create multiple ad sets, and the budget would usually be something around 5 to 8 times whatever the cost to consumer is. Or if I already know the CPA and it's a warmed up pixel, that I can do a little bit less. But at the end of the day, Facebook has shown me, and this is something that I'm sure that everyone would agree, there is a direct correlation between if a campaign goes out of learning mode and the CPA. So if you're staying in learning mode, or the campaign becomes learning limited, you are much more likely to get your CPAs up, or have the campaign not be able to scale, or once you try to scale it, it goes completely nuts in terms of CPA. So you do want to make sure that the campaign has the ability to step out of the learning mode, which means giving it at least 12 conversions a day. So even if you're not starting with a certain amount of like dollars, then you want to make sure that you have that amount to scale that campaign very quickly. Also take into consideration that there needs to be a ratio between a few things, and I'm going to talk about two of them. The first one is how deep your pockets are, or how big your balls are, essentially, because you want to make sure that sometimes people create 100 creatives that they want to test, but they don't have the budget to really give each and every creative the amount of ad spend that it actually needs to provide them with the right information and the amount of clicks and conversions to actually make a decision. And the other thing is that there needs to be a correlation between whatever you're selling and the budget that you give each ad set. So you don't want to, if you're selling something that's lower than 50, then you might be able to test more creatives with a smaller budget. But if you have a small budget and a high ticket, or like something that's more expensive, then you're probably going to have to limit yourself to a smaller amount of creatives. So my go-to place in terms of creative testing would be an ABO campaign, one ad set per creative, or one creative per ad set. So it actually delivers on that, allocates all of the ad spend into that specific creative, and then I'm actually able to see if that creative is okay or not, and I check all of the metrics. So CPCs, CTRs, of course. I want to see that the CPMs make sense. I want to see which placements that creative has targeted, and then I actually want to see some stuff that have to do with, if it's a video, for example, I go and I check the hook rate, and I want to make sure that those users are actually converting. So sometimes I would use like my affiliate tracker and really drill down on that specific ad to see how it goes. And then if I see something is way off, even if I haven't reached a full 24-hour cycle, or a full day of ad spend on that specific ad set, depending on the amount of creatives that I would have, and usually I have a very good amount of creatives, then I would exit. I would just pause it immediately, because Usually if the CPC is too high or the CPM is really not there, or I see that the people are not going through with the average, conversion rate from the pre-render to the first page that comes after the start of the funnel, basically, then usually there is no point in running it if it's an ABO. When I'm doing CBOs, it's a completely different thing, because CBOs are more reliant, the way I see it, on the algorithm. And then I like to give the ads there something like complete 3 days. On the second day, I usually start to see what ads are getting more volume, and if one ad is capturing lots of fire and it's not delivering in terms of CPA, then I would pause it so that traffic or budget would allocate towards the other stuff. Usually with CBOs, you're gonna see higher CPCs, and it takes like a day or two for the CPCs to be cut down by a lot. So that's the two ways that I usually A/B test. You have to take into consideration that CBOs are more complicated, so it's not just that they take 3 days to optimize and get the CPCs down. That's just like the start of optimization. CBOs are more built for a larger amount of creatives, and they don't really live well with other CBOs inside the campaign. So if you have lots of them, just consider that Facebook are really enforcing, technically, not policy wise, the amount of campaigns that you're gonna have inside one account. So if you have lots of campaigns that are CBO, it is going to in some way cannibalize. You're gonna see it when you pause all of them and just leave one of them. If it's on bid cap or cost cap, it's all of a sudden gonna get more traffic, so make sure that you do that. The last thing is what I do when a creative wins. I do a bunch of stuff. So first of all, I make sure that that campaign has enough budget to stay stable and basically keep on delivering the good CPAs or conversions that it gets. Sometimes I would turn it into a cost cap or bid cap campaign, so I would get more volume or higher stability, or both of them sometimes. And the other thing that I would do is I would get that creative into an ASC campaign with 1 to 4 creatives, and then it allows me usually to scale it a lot more. That has been the first part of this creative testing thing. That's kind of like the basic on how I measure things, how I really do the basic stuff. Let me know in the comments below how you guys test, and what do you think about my testing method. And I'll see you in part 2, where I'm gonna go deeper into things that you wanna avoid, and some like more sophisticated tactics that are a bit more advanced.